Hi and welcome to Applied Security Engineering. My name is Khurram Rahman. I'm working in IT field for over 20 years. Most of my experience working as a software engineer. I worked in different industry. I worked in banking. I worked in insurance. I worked in consulting. So I have a vast experience working in different organization under different roles. I lead the programming teams as well as the QA team as well. So I've been in IT for a little while now. Since around 2018, around that time, I decided to switch my career from software engineering to application security. And then since then, I'm working in a security field, like a cybersecurity, application security. Um, so when I started my journey in 2018, I found like there is a very little help available in application security domain. And especially I feel that one when I did my CSSLP, there was almost zero to none help available around that time for CSSLP certification. So I decided to start this channel to help those software engineers who want to switch their careers from software engineering to application security, or for the other security professionals who want to learn a little bit more about the application security. I just trying to cover up that gap, from where to start, what application security is, what skill sets you need, what certifications you need, what will be your career path will look like if you're starting as a fresh graduate. What will be your career path if you're switching from software engineering career to application security, what the career path look like. So covering up all those topics, I thought like it might be good to start a new channel to help the others, and share my own story, how I did all this CSSLP, CISSP certification, and which path I took, and if I have to do it again, how I can do it. So now let's talk about what application security really is. Let's start with the basic first. Application security is not about running the scanning tools only. Like when we talk about application, mostly people think about like it's all about SAST or DAST or finding vulnerabilities. Like that's not really what actually application security is. It's more about understanding how the application works and how they can be abused. And one of the main purpose of the security in an application is to reduce the risk. Now the point comes like how you want to reduce the risk. Obviously, like tooling is like one of the most important thing that will find vulnerabilities for you, and that's how you can reduce the risk. But there are a lot of other things which you can do it even before the tooling comes into place. Like good design and development, and then the operational decision. Those are the key areas. And then obviously like when you're designing an application, to understand the data flow, to understand the trust boundaries, authentication and authorization, business logic. So these are all the points you have to consider when you're talking about the application security. One thing I will say now, and I will repeat in all my videos, there is no application which is like 100% secure. But you have to understand by adding those controls how to minimize the risk, and how you can make an application more secure. So there is no 100% security, but you try to achieve like as much as you can. Like so the good application security starts even before you start writing the code. And it continues throughout the entire application life cycle. So application security often feels difficult, especially for the developers. It's not because like developers are not capable of; they are very well capable of learning more about the application security and the security in a journal. But it's the way of thinking. Like you as a developer, myself, including myself, when I was a developer, always care about it, like how do I make this work, how can I complete this feature set on time, how do I meet the requirements. Whereas when you working as a security engineer or in an application security, you think differently. How could this be abused, how can this be misused, how could this fail in a way that cause harms. So it's just like a way of thinking. You have to think it in a different way, as compared to the developer perspective. And also, like as a developer, we always talk about like the happy path, and no one wants to talk about the abuse path. As a developer, always care about like user logs in correctly, request is well formatted, data is valid, the system behaves as expected. Like that's all fine. But from the security perspective, you have to think it like, what if user is malicious? What if the request is manipulated? What if the input is technically valid but logically dangerous? So these are not like the bug in a traditional sense. They are often design and logical problems. So that's how you identified like the security issues in an application. Another challenge is, security often exists, or like introduced to the developers via the tools. So you run a SAST tool on an application. These are the SAST findings. These are the DAST findings. Security scanner raised hundred of issues. So without the context, those results are like kind of like feel overwhelming to the developers. Developers see noise, whereas the security team see risk. But the real skill in application security is not reading the tool output. It's to understand why the finding matters, which finding like matters, why it matters, and how it relates to the system design. That understanding takes time and mindset shift. Once you understand, or if you do that mind shift, everything, you start looking into things like in a very different perspective. You stop seeing code in an isolation. You start seeing system. You stop focusing only on a feature. You start thinking about the impact, trust, and risk. And that's when the application security start to make sense. So one very important thing, is, like application security is not hard, but it is technical. It's hard because it forces you to see system in a different way. So the next question is, like, what if I start learning application security today? How I do it? Like, so I will explain this for those who are coming from the software engineering background, and then I will explain it for the those who are coming not from the development background. Like, so the first thing you have to understand is like how software is built. What are the core components of the software? Like, for example, if we are building a web application, like what are the core requirements on a web application? APIs, cloud services, identity and access management. Those are the like kind of like a four more pillars you need to learn about it, because you cannot learn, or you cannot secure what you don't understand. Second, I would learn how application fail. Whereas if you are coming from a software engineering background, you already have a knowledge about the web applications, you already have a knowledge about APIs, cloud services, identity and access management. So you already know how the software works. Now, what you need to do is you need to switch the mindset, from the developer to think about risk. What sort of a risk and impact this feature or this build make in an application. Like, and also it's very important not to memorize vulnerability list, but understand common failure patterns. Broken access control is another one, insecure design, business logic flaws. So those are all like, I would say, like a real serious world issues in an application security. One of the most important thing I think, which I would learn first, is the threat modeling. Like, thinking in terms of the actors, entry points, trust boundary. Those are like kind of, I feel, major point in an application security, because that's where you start thinking differently and you start looking into the software from a different mindset when you do the threat modeling, or you learn threat modeling earlier in your journey. And finally, the tool comes. Like, I will start learning about the tools at the last, whereas I will do the other things first, and then the tooling comes. When I started like my journey at that time, like everyone talking about the tooling, looking into SaaS, test, all the vulnerabilities, but I I will look at it last. Like there are so many other things you need to learn before you start even looking into the tooling. I will briefly touch about the certifications as well here, and then in coming videos we will be talking more about those certifications. I feel like the first one I would like to talk about, which is more like specific to the application security, is CSSLP. And this is like my favorite certification as well, because it focuses specifically on the application part of the security life cycle. What are the different components of the application security where you need to focus on it. Whereas if you're talking about like CISSP and there are some other certifications, they are like broadly there are broader scope of those certification, whereas CSSLP is like specifically talking about like the secure design. Supply chain is another one coming up in this one. So I would highly recommend, if you thinking to start your career or if you want to learn more about it, even if you don't want to go for the certification, I would recommend you to go through the at least the course material of the CSSLP, because that gives you good understanding about the different areas of application security and help you understand and help you switch your career from a software engineering background to application security. Now, what you can expect from this channel, like I will be covering up different topics, like in more details in coming episodes, talking about like the application security fundamentals, secure SDLC. We will be covering up threat modeling, real world AppSec programs, and then real world problems. I will share my own experiences, obviously like without naming any application or the organization I've worked. And then like the what sort of like AI bringing like the AI challenges nowadays, and how AI can help you. Like I personally using AI a lot in my day-to-day work. That helps me a lot. So we will talk about those things as well. And then like I will be starting first series. I will be starting on a CSSLP. We will covering up this whole certification domain by domain, talking about like each domain explained in detail and what sort of a question you expect in an exam, and how you can prepare yourself, which course material I use to prepare for those certifications, and which one I recommend for you guys as well. So these are all the topics we will be covering up in coming videos. And also, like if there is any specific topics you want me to cover in next 2 to 3 videos, feel free to message me or add a comments in it, and I will look and I will prepare for those ones. And then if you find this video helpful, or if you find my future videos helpful, please subscribe to my channel, press the bell icon so that you get an alert whenever I post a video. And yeah, I will help you guys get a better understanding about the application security, switching career, or getting broader more in-depth understanding about the security and the features. We will be covering up the tooling as well at some point. I did a one good research in terms of the tooling from the SaaS perspective as well as from the DAS perspective. So I will share my my whole research on that one, which tool is good, which one is. So there are different tools out there. Some tools are good in a one way, some tools are good in another way. So I will share my findings about that as well. Thank you. Thanks for watching. See you next time.